Call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Please take the roll.
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Schron.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Ms. Simon.
I'm here.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent. Mr. Byrne.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you, ma'am. Has there been any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
And how about the minutes from the last meeting, the October 28th? Did everybody a chance to look at those?
Move to adopt.
Been moved?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposed. Minutes are approved. We have two matters to come before us out there. One that seems to be a reoccurring conversation, so we'll pick that up. Is there somebody here representing this issue? And if we could read into the record the first item.
Resolution 2024-0397, awarding a total sum not to exceed $150,000 to Midtown Cleveland Incorporated for the purpose of the Warner and Swayze Building Redevelopment Project from the District 8 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Thank you. And Mr. Miller is here participating in the meeting, so let the record reflect that. Please state your name and the background as far as this issue.
Yes, Councilman, thank you for having us here. My name is Ed Peppers. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for Midtown Cleveland, Inc. And we do have a presentation for you today. I think everyone's familiar with Warner and Swayze. As you said, we've been here a couple of times seeking funds, and we are very close to closing the financial gap. I just wanted to take you to the past. Warner and Swayze was built in 1905, originally ran for about 80 years, and at one time employed over 7,000 people in the city of Cleveland. It was instrumental in World War II, but unfortunately it closed in 1985, and it's been vacant ever since. Present state, it has had a lot of decline. It looks pretty rough property. It's probably, if not the most ominous, the most well-known vacant building in Cleveland. Many developers have taken a stab at trying to redevelop it for different uses over the years, and we, along with our partners Penrose, Midtown and Penrose, are very close to closing the gap to make this low-income housing. Our renderings show this is what the finished project very well could look like as a LIHTC low-income housing tax credit project on the corner of 55th and Carnegie. Again, the Warner and Swayze summary, along with Midtown Cleveland and Penrose, we just want this to serve as a symbol of revitalization for the neighborhood. Also, it's going to create an age-integrated affordable housing option. It's going to have senior housing along with family, and in phase 2, which we're not talking about yet, but phase 2 would be actually workforce or market rate housing along with about 26,000 square feet of commercial on this space. This project does align with both Midtown Cleveland's vision and strategy plan as well as the city of Cleveland's 15-minute city, and it preserves and utilizes non-productive vacant property. This is still currently owned by the city of Cleveland. We have an impressive financial stack, which I think is commitment for everyone who want to see this project come to fruition. We're currently at 20 financial sources. We have backing by several communities as well as individuals, and just a few I wanted to list out: State of Ohio, Cuyahoga County, City of Cleveland, Senator Antonio, Senator Sherrod Brown, Representative Upchurch, and Councilman Starr have all given us either funds and written and verbal letters of support or both for this project. Just a little bit about where the project is. The outline is Midtown Cleveland. Midtown's home of about 650 organizations, large daytime employment of 18,000. Not many residents as of yet, still around 2,000 per the census data. Demographic makeup, a little over 61% African American, 15% Asian. The median household income is only $20,000, which is 42% below the poverty level. This proposal would be for phase 1, which would provide 112 affordable housing units, studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. Very affordable. This would be for seniors and families earning between 30 and 60% of area median income. Secure on-site parking, excuse me, and also it preserved the historic fabric of the neighborhood. This building is well known. I think the most question I get from most residents, even our annual meeting last week, is what's going on with Warner and Swayze. I've heard about it for 30 years, something's gonna happen, and we hear you guys are close. And we are extremely close. That's why we're here right now. This does, again, fall in line with Cleveland. It also falls in line with several city and county objectives. Community benefits. We have hired and is in process and working on this Moody Nolan, which is an MBE. This is our largest soft cost, which is Moody Nolan. The goal for the commercial space will be to provide something for the community. We're a banking desert. We've talked to several banks about when Phase 2 comes around. Also a community-oriented center to take the actual commercial space so it's not just another retailer that no one wants to see, a Family Dollar, no offense, or something like that. We want it to be very beneficial to the community. The city has very high expectations, I'm sure everyone knows, for their MBE. And we've already been through this with them. We've met with the city with Penrose. And in addition, I've been attending the city's latest rollouts of their new CBA. Totally on board. We think we can make this happen more than is required. Long story short, we want to provide affordable housing and the support to go on, because this building is about a stone's throw from Midtown Cleveland's headquarters. We want to be able to provide the social services, financial literacy, et cetera, to make sure that we just don't build a building and it sits there. Midtown Cleveland is a partner. We have a say in the building. We don't want it to go back to market rate in 15 years, and we will have the ability to keep it as affordable housing. And that's really why we're here. We are so close. This building, I think, would be a shame to have it torn down, and we're seeking $150,000 in ARPA funds from the county to help close the financial gap. That said, I think most people do know the building, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any to the best of my ability.
I do.
Yeah, you talked about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Ms.
Chair, go ahead.
You talked about the capital stack. Let's go through the capital stack, because I can only imagine it's changed back and forth.
The highlights, because I might go over my time, Councilman, but I'll give you the highlights. Let's go. This deal actually has two.
Go back to your slide where you had the names, and
Sure.
give me $1 that goes, that's associated.
This is not the,
I assume that's not the total capital
talking
stack,
this?
but what does this represent?
This represents people that have put funds into it. I can give you the capital stack, the highlights. This has two 9% low-income housing tax credit awards that total $19.4 million.
Coming from where?
This is low-income housing tax credits, OFA, Ohio State Housing Association.
Okay.
We also have, this is the last deal in the state of Ohio where you can combine low-income housing tax credits with state historic tax credits. It's grandfathered in, the last deal. So we have federal historic tax credits of $8 million, state historic tax credits of $1.6 million. Brownfield funding from the state, City of Cleveland. We have Cuyahoga County casino funds.
No, give me a number. You keep talking. What is the state of Ohio putting into this project?
Brownfield funds, they have $1.4 million.
The city of Cleveland, what are they actually putting in, is writing a check?
We have them at 6.5.
6.5 million?
And 4 of that is because it would cost that to tear the building down if that had to happen. So that was kind of ruled into the price that they're putting into this deal.
Okay, so
And that's been since day one.
they own it?
Yes, it's owned by the city of Cleveland.
Their analysis is, I can either put 4.5 into tearing it down,
Or to tear
or
it
give
down.
you 4.5 plus a kicker to get it up to the 6.5.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other lending institution involved with this?
Yeah, we do have permanent debt. Fifth Third Bank, FHLB, Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati. And
How
we
much
also,
are they coming in with?
right now, they're at 400, we're in for another 400 we should know about in December.
So not big numbers.
No, the Federal Home Loan Bank, no, but the actual mortgage, if you want to say that, from Fifth Third would be about $4 million.
Okay, so obviously the city of Cleveland's putting in more than even the lenders. So
The city of Cleveland, yes, and that's kind of the emphasis of low-income housing. It has to be subsidized. To take on debt, we would have to raise the rents, which really is kind of defeats the purpose.
I was just trying to fill in the slide with the
Oh,
dollars.
sure.
Ms.
problem.
Simon, sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
No,
apologize
that's
on
okay.
No,
that.
happy to answer.
No, that's a good, and so you brought up that you're grandfathered into the program that would merge the historic credit with low-income housing, or?
Low-income housing, yes, with
So
state.
what happened? The state said no more, or what?
It was voted on, I believe, a year or two ago, yes. Governor DeWine said that you should not be able to double dip, and no one that I talked to can figure that out, but you cannot combine low-income housing tax credits with state historic tax credits anymore. And
Oh, so he considered this to be double dipping?
Yeah.
Even though it's enabling really important projects to
Correct.
go forward?
Correct.
A
And-
win-win?
Yes. And I was just at the Ohio Housing Conference last week. It was in Columbus, and that's still one that people plan on pushing and trying to get changed
Yeah.
because it's a historic building should not be penalized if it qualifies for low-income housing tax credits. We
No,
believe.
because we want to do, sometimes it's both, ways to
Yes.
address it that enable it to survive.
Okay, that wasn't my original question. So what kind of retail would you be looking at if it's not Dollar General or,
Sure.
you know, what would you envision for that corridor?
Again, this is phase two, and
I
we're looking at a bank right now because it's such a banking desert. And we've talked to several banks that have an interest in coming to Midtown because it falls in line with community benefits as well, financial literacy, and also the space is going to be over 20,000 feet. Our thought is that we can make some kind of community center in combination with the bank. That would be great to have a place for the community to meet as well.
Fantastic, thank you. What is this 150 going to do? I mean, is that?
Oh, we have been working feverishly. This deal's been going on for 10 years with our partner Penrose. We have raised over $52 million, and the gap is now down to approximately $3 million. And we have in the works right now, end of the year, it's going to be a rush, with between foundations and other loans, $3 million plus that we hope to know about first quarter. When I say know about, have it approved, so that would close the gap and allow us to move forward to closing and go ahead and hopefully do an official close second quarter of '25.
So this is actually going to make a difference?
Oh, every penny makes a
Every penny
difference,
to
but something in the
keep it-
six figures makes a huge difference.
Okay, good, thank you.
And this is, as you understand, the ARPA money is going to come through it's come through in a grant format.
Yes.
So I'm sure that makes your
yes.
lenders a little happier that they don't have to worry about being subordinate to anything
Yeah,
we're putting in.
not only that, sir, but it makes us happy because it does not change our debt service coverage ratios, which in a low-income housing tax credit deal are very stringent. If it's
Actually improves it. It should.
Exactly. So again,
It does
grants,
change it, but
if we can
change it
get
for
grants,
good.
that's the way to go.
Yeah, it improves your position out there. Any other questions in regards to this? This is, I can't remember how many times this topic has come up before this committee, but a bunch. I really, as somebody who understands Warner and Swayze and actually had bought Warner and Swayze equipment, my heart goes out to you to get this thing running because it's an iconic name in the town, and I hope you can get it done. I'll be anything less than honest to say you still have a delta in there, and I don't know that our 150 is going to close your delta. Do you have a vision as to how you're going to close it?
We do. We are working over $4 million for that $3 million gap that we should know about, if not by the end of December, early first quarter. So yes, we have, the way we break it out, we have what's funded and what we're chasing, so to speak, and the gap. And we are in process of much more than the gap. We're not going to get everything, we know that.
And legal, are you, if this goes forward and they are not able to close the gap, what will be the status of our grant?
If I could get back to council on that answer. would
Yeah,
be-
well, we got time. The good news is that we have
Yeah.
a little bit of time, because as you know, what happens with, maybe you don't know what happens with our ARPA grants. You got a first reading at the council meeting. The most we can do is vote it out for the full 3 readings. So we cannot do an accelerated pace. So it doesn't help you in that respect. So the next reading will get its second reading, and then the next subsequent meeting after that will get its third reading at best. So
Understood.
Well, can I follow up? But just because it might not happen by the end of the year, you would continue, right?
Correct. We would
Yeah,
continue.
So that ARPA money would
the ARPA money will stand out there.
stand.
But I just didn't want it being, I didn't want us to write you a check and have the project fail and it
Sure.
ends up in your bank account.
Sure.
As opposed to us being
Absolutely.
able to claw it back.
And we have other grants as well, and that's a common question, and it's simple. If God forbid, the project didn't go through, then the money is not, it's not checked.
That's why I was
anywhere.
asking
Yeah.
this guy over
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
As legal
To
to make sure
protect
that
it,
that's-
thank
it's
you.
written that
That's a
way.
good question.
Yeah, the 150 isn't going to go to us and be forgotten about, so.
Well, it wasn't so, I realize there's a lot of expenses to put one of these together, and I would rather the 150 ARPA money doesn't get used for your expenses
Sure.
and administrative costs and all that kind of stuff, which is, I know somebody's got to pick that up.
Yep.
It's not cheap to put one of these together.
So would that depend on the language in the legislation in the contract? So
That's
just be
why I
sure
wanted-
to,
that's why I
thank
wanted-
you.
That's why I was pointing over here
Yeah.
to make sure we have a clawback that it says if
Okay.
it doesn't go forward, our 150 does not get written until they need it out there.
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay. The chair will move, because of my passion for Warner and Swayze, that we move this out for a second reading. Is there a second?
Wait.
Oh,
Yeah, second reading, thanks.
not second
Not
reading.
suspension,
Just-
okay.
Just for the second reading, go back to full council for its full second and third reading.
Second, who was that? Go ahead, whoever it was.
Kelly.
Kelly, okay, thank you. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of this moving out for second reading with approval at the third reading, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so it'll be moved out, and
Great.
we'll get a second reading, and then third reading will be subsequent to that.
Great. Thank you very much for your time today.
And then we have another item on the agenda, if we could read that into the record, and I assume based on people grabbing the microphone, I think we have people who are going to speak on it.
Resolution 2024-0413, authorizing an amendment to Resolution Number R 2021-0223, dated October 26, 2021, which approved an Economic Development Fund redevelopment and modernization loan in the amount not to exceed $1 million to LG Blanket Mill LLC for the redevelopment of a vacant building located at 3160 West 33rd Street, City of Cleveland, for a mixed-use structure for the Northern Ohio Blanket Mills project by changing the interest-only period from 2 years to 1 year and amending the loan agreement.
Thank you.
I assume there's somebody here to speak on this?
Yes, Councilman Tron, members of the committee, Paul Herdig from the Department of Development, and with me, Anthony Stella, who is our Economic Development Manager in charge of our lending programs. I'm going to speak briefly, and then Anthony's going to give us more information on the project. We are here talking about a loan that has already been made and dispersed, and a project that is successful already. This is the Blanket Mills project, which was undertaken by the Levin Trust. Mort Levin is here with Kevin Hudson of his company. They have taken what was long a vacant eyesore building in the Clark Fulton neighborhood of Cleveland and transformed it into affordable apartments for workforce housing. And there's a second part of the project in the same building, which is going to have commercial space available for job creating use, which is also well underway. The loan that we're here to talk about today is a $1 million loan, an economic development loan that was approved and made back in 2021, fully dispersed in 2022, and the project has been successful. The reason we're here today is that the project is refinancing its permanent debt. It's doing this, as we'll talk about in a minute, because they incurred much more interest cost than expected during the construction period. So they're doing a refinancing to have a little more permanent debt to take care of that interest cost. And in connection with the refinancing, because it's being done under a program from Freddie Mac, we've been asked to change the way our guarantee from the Levin Trust works, and we felt it was prudent to come and talk with council about that change before it's made final. So with that, I would like to have Anthony take us through the presentation, just a few slides to recap the project and a little more about why we're here today.
Thank you. So again, this is the Blanket Mills project.
Anthony, could you state your name for the record?
Anthony Stella, Department of Development.
Thank you.
The LG Blanket Mills Apartments LLC is the entity in which we entered into an agreement with. And its location is there in the Clark Fulton neighborhood. This was, at the time, the largest vacant building in the Clark Fulton neighborhood. And as Director Herdig stated, the development team has completed the renovation of the apartments, and they've filled them up completely because this type of affordable housing, it has a very large demand. Here's a rendering of that building and a location right near St. Rocco's Church, about a block away from Clark Avenue. This building was a mixed-use, transit-oriented historic preservation project. 60 families have moved into the building. The building total is 63,000 square feet. This has been a successful adaptive reuse of the project. So the original loan was $1 million, and the original approved terms included 2 years of interest only during the construction period, and then an 18-year fully amortized at 2.5% interest. Again, this was 2021 when it was approved. We were in a different interest rate environment. Loans under this program include 25% forgiveness if certain objectives are met with job creation, which would happen in this next phase that they're undertaking. They expect the commercial portion to create about 30 new jobs, full-time equivalent jobs. Again, it's already occurred, but this has renovated the largest vacant building, bringing it to productive use, largest in that neighborhood. The LG Blanket Mill project is not just a development of the Levin Group, but it was in partnership with Metrotown West Community Development Corporation. They were a 25% partner in this project. Levin Group is extensive experience developing and managing low-income housing, and they've developed over 1,200 housing units. So some of the history, as Director Hurdig stated, this was originally brought to council in 2021, and it was approved in October of 2021. We closed the loan in 2022, and early this year dispersed all the funds. They received their residential occupancy permit from the city of Cleveland, and by the end of June, those units were fully leased. And there's a waiting list for more, because this has it's project-based vouchers, so a lot of the tenants are looking for that type of space. They only pay 30% of their own income towards it, and the rest is subsidized through HUD, from HUD through CMHA. So some of what, as Director Hurdig had mentioned, they're looking to refinance. So the current existing loan, senior loan on the project is $17.4 million. Part of that includes that they bridged the tax credits that they weren't able to access till the project was completed. PNC is purchasing those credits to turn that into, to purchase those credits at $13,229,000, which reduces the overall loan that would be outstanding then to $4,170,000. Freddie Mac, working through Bellwether, they will be providing a new loan in the amount of $5,215,000 to refinance that remaining $4 million, which is typical in development projects that at some point they go to permanent financing. So what's happening here is they're redeveloping that. The extra money is used to pick up. There was increased expenses of interest during the construction phase, because that was a period in time when interest rates moved up rapidly. So they went through the reserves that they had quickly. So the request being made, and why we're here, which differs from other requests, is that with Freddie Mac, they had initially requested that we release the guarantee from the Levin Trust that we have. Through some negotiation, we brought forward these terms, is that there would be a partial pay down of the loan balance. The 2-year interest-only period would be reduced to 1 year, so they'd begin the principal and interest payments earlier and start paying down on the principal. The guarantee is going to remain, but it's subject to a standstill provision in the subordination agreement until Freddie Mac is paid. That's what the difference is on that one, is that standstill agreement. And I'll turn it back over to the director.
With that, Mr. Chairman, and in a moment we'll be, of course, happy to take questions. I'd like to note the reasons why the Department of Development, the administration, believe it's appropriate to do what we're suggesting. It is routine for us to participate in a refinancing of a project for permanent financing. That's, as Anthony said, expected when you finish the construction period and you stabilize the project. It is also routine for us to be subordinated, which simply means we're behind another lender. For example, right now we're subordinated to Citizens Bank. We're behind Citizens Bank. They're the senior lender. So we would fully expect that when the project is refinanced over to Freddie Mac as the senior lender, we'd still be subordinated. What's a little bit different here is Freddie Mac has a policy that they will not let a junior lender, which is us, have a more favorable position on a guarantee than they do. And Freddie Mac itself, because of the way it does its lending, it's mainly a housing lender, a rental housing lender, does not take the kind of personal guarantee we have. So that is why, as Anthony said, we've had to be involved in a negotiation to be able to maintain our guarantee, which we will, but we've also been forced to agree, as Anthony said, to this waiting period, this standstill, which means our guarantee is not as valuable as it was when we started. So to make up for that, we've done some analysis of the project. What's in our favor is this is a fully leased, affordable housing project that has project-based subsidies. That's extraordinarily important because it means there's always going to be a very long waiting list. Anybody can afford to live in this property because their rent is capped at 30% of their income. So this is not a situation where, you know, the property may be short of people that can afford to rent there. There will always be people that can afford to rent there. It will always be full. So the income stream is very secure and very solid that pays back our loan. We also note that after this refinancing, the ratio of our loan amount, including the Freddie Mac, to the value of the property will be 84%. That's below the 90% we normally expect to see in our deals. So we're still better secured than we normally would be. And to further give us some assurance and comfort here, as Anthony said, we're negotiating to have a partial prepayment of our loan, and we're also going to speed up the time from 2 years to 1 year when the loan steps up to its fully amortizing payments. That means from the lower interest-only payment, it will step up to a regular payment 1 year earlier. So with all these points taken into consideration, we feel that it's appropriate for us to do what Freddie Mac has asked and agree to this provision that makes us wait on our guarantee by some period of time. Mr. Chairman, open for questions.
Questions from the committee? Simon, did you have one? Okay, any other?
Well, yes, about the board, the CCIC, have you gone back to them with this new proposal?
Thank you, Councilman. We've consulted with our CCCIC. We've had a full discussion at a very well-attended meeting, and their input has been very helpful to us as we continue to negotiate what will be the final terms of the subordination.
Aren't the final terms here, or you're talking about details on how to handle that?
We are still resolving the question of exactly what the compensating payments will be that we will need before we agree to the subordination.
And so we're doing this to help the trust and just so they can refinance, and is it an accommodation?
Councilman, the reason we need to do this is that the project had $1.2 million of unexpected construction period interest payments, all of which have been absorbed so far by cash payments by the Levin group that had not been anticipated. This pretty much wipes out their entire developer's fee. So it needs to be refinanced so these interest payments that had to be made can be put back into the project as they should be.
So the county's accommodating the circumstance?
We are, Councilman.
That's-
Yes.
Anybody else from the committee first? No? Mr. Miller?
Since the interest rates have gone up substantially since the deal was put together as you described, why do we have to convert to new financing? Why couldn't we just leave the Citizens Bank loan in place?
Councilman, I think Kevin Hudson could probably speak to that better than I can. What I would say is that it's my understanding, and again, Kevin will correct me if I got this wrong, the Citizens loan was never meant to be the permanent financing. It was a construction bridge loan, and it's always been anticipated, as with any project of this kind, that when it's fully stabilized, there's going to be a conversion over to permanent financing.
Just any other questions?
Just quick.
Yes, go
The
ahead.
average monthly rent without the subsidy, what's the going rate for these units?
So these are pegged to market rate in the Clark Fulton neighborhood. And then, of course, the subsidy is applied to that. But Tony, do you got those numbers?
Yes, so the full market rent, this isn't what the tenants pay for. One bedroom is $1,056, two bedroom is $1,271, and three bedroom is $1,543 but it's capped based on their income.
And there's a list, right? People are like
Yes.
waiting.
Yes, and there's a shortage of this type of housing in the region.
Correct. Thank you.
Any other questions from the chair then? You just described what would be, I would think would be a landlord's dream, is to have a fully rented building with a waiting list to get people in there, knowing that the subsidy is not coming out of their pocket. It's coming out of the federal government contributing to make that happen. So I can only imagine that their business model did not forecast necessarily 100% full property with a waiting list at day one at this point in time. So aren't they reaping some big benefits of a fully rented facility with cash flow that's covering that? I mean, I would, every time you guys have presented these, it's always going to be that we had 60 or 70% complete, and we hope to get to 80, and then hope to get to 90, and here you're already at 100 when you're bringing this to us.
So, Councilman, the difference in the affordable housing is that there's a limit on what the rents can be. That's a
Right.
regulatory limit. So that while it is very favorable in terms of demand for the property and expected very low vacancy rent, there's always a little bit of turnover. It is not unlimited revenue stream because the amount of revenue that can come in is limited by those fair market rents. So
But they knew that full well. This was always going to be that kind of a project, was it not?
yes, Councilman, the difference was that frankly, nobody anticipated the jump in interest rates, which is what created the $1.2 million excessive amount of construction period interest that had to be covered.
Okay, and I assume that it also reflected the half point that just dropped, and we're probably going to see another quarter point next week, I would think. Are those based on the Fed funds rate? I would think those are going to be variable down. Are they not or not?
Councilman, I'm sure Kevin Hudson can
These are-
verify that they'll take full advantage of the market
I'm not trying to,
conditions.
I'm not trying to nix the deal. I'm just trying to get the facts so that we're on the record as far as what all was going on. It just seems like, yes, we're always being the one to be asked, which is okay. We want to get deal. We don't want to see properties sitting idle. That's for sure. You indicate that our guarantee is going to fall behind the Freddie Mac payment period. What is the Freddie Mac payment period?
The 15-year, it's 5 years and then 10 more years, then 15 years. Is that correct, Kevin?
It's 5-year interest only, 10-year,
Right.
10-year term.
What was it, 5?
5 interest only, then 10 years based on 35-year amortization, but due in full at the end of the 15 years.
Okay, so our guarantee is, our surety is just, it's temporarily on hold for 15 years.
That's correct.
Okay. Then let's just go to the interest only. I mean, is only going to be for 1 year versus 2. So I'm sure you've calculated what that means to us to get our money sooner. I would hope that's I got the impression from your answer to Ms. Simon that we don't have those numbers. I assume you do.
The
You actually-
difference in the payments between amortizing and interest only.
It's got to be a benefit to us.
Yeah, there's definitely a benefit. I have it here, if I can take a look.
And did our interest rates get affected at all in regards to the rates going up and then the rates having come down now in the last, a month and a half ago and then probably again this month? Are
So,
our rates-
Councilman, we're still discussing within the department as the prime rate slides whether to change our quote that we're giving on new loans. We may bring it down a little bit for the next deal that comes through.
Okay, and then you indicated that that there's going to be a prepayment, and what of our principal?
That's correct, some amount. And that's still being discussed and needs to be finalized.
Okay, is it going to be, so our $1 million is going to drop somewhat less than that, it sounds like.
That's correct.
And if I'm just picking a number out of a hat, if it drops to $800,000, then we've actually significantly received a prepayment, which is a terrific thing to do, and our interest rates go up. So it sounds to me as though you've negotiated as good a deal that make this thing work. I'm not adverse to that. Ms. Simon, question?
No, I just, when you're done.
Okay, go ahead.
follow up.
Yep, that's it.
What other security do we have, though, if our guarantee's on hold?
So we still maintain a second position on the real property, where we're at, again, the 84% combined loan-to-value ratio.
You said that.
That's our, we still
Okay.
have that.
Okay. The other question I have is about these subsidies from HUD, feds. We have new leadership at the federal level, and there'll be new leadership with those departments. Is it possible that the formula for subsidies can change in the next 15 years, that we're relying right now on the current state of affairs? Things are going to change significantly. Could you be impacted by that?
There's an expert here. My point of view, Councilwoman, is there are such large amounts of capital invested in affordable housing nationwide that there would be significant pushback if it was felt there was a threat to the stability of those guarantees that have been issued. It would be threatening trillions of dollars of investment that have been made into affordable housing. I don't
Okay,
think
well,
the
that
markets
doesn't
would stand
answer it. So it could happen. That was a question. It could happen. You're saying some people are going to resist, but, you
A
know,
very good question. Hi, I'm Mort Levin. Appreciate being in front of all of you.
Please put your name on the record. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Morton Levin.
Yeah, but the microphone, yeah, nobody can see that unless you put it on the record. Sorry.
We have a 20, it's 20 years, isn't it? 20 year. A 20-year agreement with, I was going to say HUD, but with CMHA for the Section 8. So that's binding. That can't be vitiated. And so that covers more than the 15 years.
that's it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Levin, you brought something up that I was wondering. So is the whole building, is it CMHA? Is it all Section 8, or is it divided?
Excellent question. The second and third floor is the housing part. That's like one deal. The first floor is another deal, which is using new market tax credits, which is, we're just about there, and we know who the tenants are going to be. The neighborhood group's going to be a tenant. There's going to be a daycare tenant. There's also a regional medical going to be taking a lot of space. And actually, the city of Cleveland is working with us to be the fourth unit. So that's going to take approximately 31,500 square feet of the first floor for the retail space for those uses. So it's like two deals on the site.
Right, but for the residential part, is it all Section 8 or?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
all 60 units are Section 8. Frankly, 40, the number, approximately 42 of the units were completed and moved into in February and March, and the remaining 18 units, could have the numbers a little bit, 38 units were done, and then the remaining 22 units were done by May and June, and fully occupied.
Thank you, that's what I want to know. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Just to summarize, for purpose of the record, there will be a prepayment of the principal in regards to this. I'm not going to try and negotiate with.
That's correct.
That's not it's kind of a little awkward that we're hearing about a deal where you don't have the deal done. Before we vote on this, will we have these numbers?
Councilman, we would anticipate being able to provide the information before final council passage.
That's my question. Yes. Okay. So I'll let the four of you play bridge together and figure out over the bridge table how much we get prepaid, and you're going to communicate that. Is our interest, you're going from a 2-year interest only to a 1-year interest only, so that, I assume that's at the same interest rate that was initially agreed to?
We are discussing whether there might be a slight increase in the interest rate. That has not been decided. It would
Okay,
not be
so-
up to our full current rate we're quoting.
Okay, so that's the second point. And then the third one is that someplace in the record, it will reflect that in 15 years, our guarantee will spring forward and be alive as opposed to sitting in an idle condition. Is that?
Well, to be completely accurate, when Freddie Mac is paid, we will have no.
Oh, okay.
We will
Okay,
not be
so
behind them.
if you guys accelerate your payment, which there probably is no reason to, it will then spring back to life. Okay, all right. All right, on the basis that you're going to provide us with this information, is there any reason that this needs to go any further, faster than our traditional 3 readings?
Mr. Councilman Tron, considering that the next 2 meetings are back-to-back, we would not ask for any expedited. The 3 readings would be fine.
Okay, so, and by the time we get to the 3rd reading, you will have presented something to our staff so that everybody on the committee can know what the deal is that we're actually voting on today.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks. Everybody comfortable with where we are at this point now?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to approve this for its 3 reading process?
So moved.
Been moved?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, good luck. Thank you. Yep. And I think that concludes it. Any miscellaneous business? Hearing none? Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your attention, and